As we round off the year 2024, the global landscape is shifting beneath our feet. A new kind of conflict grips the world, one fought not with tanks and missiles, but with tariffs and trade bans. The United States and China, the world's two largest economies, are locked in a trade war that threatens to unravel the interconnected global system we have come to rely on. At the heart of this conflict lies a fundamental question. Can the United States maintain its global dominance in a world where China is rapidly rising? The answer, as with most things in geopolitics, is complex and fraught with uncertainty. The recent decision by China to restrict exports of critical materials, including gallium and germanium, has sent shockwaves through the global economy. These materials, essential for everything from smartphones to military hardware, are now pawns in a high-stakes game of economic chess. This is not just a trade war. It is a battle for technological supremacy, for economic influence, and ultimately for the future of the global order. History, as they say, doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. This adage holds a mirror to the cyclical nature of human events, where patterns and themes re-emerge across different eras and contexts. The current trade war between the United States and China, while unprecedented in its scope and complexity, has echoes of past conflicts that have reshaped the global landscape. This modern economic struggle is not just about tariffs and trade deficits. It is a battle for global supremacy, technological dominance, and political influence. The Opium Wars of the 19th century, for example, saw Great Britain use its military might to force China to open its markets to British goods, including opium. This was a time when imperial powers sought to expand their influence through economic and military means, often at the expense of local populations and sovereignty. This conflict had a profound impact on China, weakening the Qing dynasty and paving the way for decades of foreign intervention. The repercussions of these wars were felt for generations, altering the course of Chinese history and its interactions with the world. Another historical parallel can be drawn to the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930. This piece of legislation was intended to protect American industries during a time of economic hardship, but it had far-reaching and unintended consequences. This protectionist legislation, passed by the United States Congress in the midst of the Great Depression, raised tariffs on over 20,000 imported goods. The goal was to shield domestic industries from foreign competition, but the result was a severe contraction in international trade. The result was a global trade war that deepened the Depression and contributed to the rise of fascism in Europe. Countries around the world retaliated with their own tariffs, leading to a downward spiral of economic isolation and hardship. These historical examples serve as a stark reminder of the dangers of protectionism and the interconnectedness of the global economy. In an era where economies are more intertwined than ever, the ripple effects of trade policies can be felt across the globe. They also highlight the potential for trade conflicts to escalate into broader geopolitical confrontations. As nations navigate the complexities of modern trade, the lessons of history underscore the importance of diplomacy, cooperation, and the pursuit of mutual benefit. The current trade war between the United States and China is not merely about tariffs and trade deficits. It is a symptom of a deeper breakdown of trust between the two superpowers. This conflict has roots that go far beyond the economic sphere, touching on issues of national security, technological dominance, and geopolitical influence. The stakes are incredibly high, and the consequences of this breakdown in trust are being felt around the world. The United States views China's rise with increasing suspicion, seeing it as a challenge to its economic and military dominance. This suspicion is fueled by China's rapid technological advancements and its growing influence in international organizations. The U.S. fears that China's ascent could undermine its own position as the world's leading superpower, leading to a shift in the global balance of power. China, for its part, feels that the United States is attempting to contain its growth and prevent it from achieving its rightful place on the world stage. This sentiment is exacerbated by U.S. actions, such as the blacklisting of Chinese tech companies and the imposition of sanctions. China sees these moves as efforts to stifle its development and maintain American hegemony. This mutual distrust has led to a vicious cycle of accusations, retaliatory measures, and escalating tensions. Each side believes it is acting in self-defense, but their actions only serve to provoke further hostility. The result is a deteriorating relationship that makes cooperation on global issues increasingly difficult. The Trump administration's decision to impose tariffs on Chinese goods in 2018 and in 2024 have sworn to levy a 10% more tariff on China and 25% on Canada and Mexico, further marking a turning point in the relationships between these countries. These tariffs were justified on the grounds of protecting American industries and reducing the trade deficit, but they have had far-reaching consequences that extend beyond the economic realm. These tariffs, initially intended to protect American jobs and reduce the trade deficit, have had the opposite effect, raising prices for consumers and hurting American businesses. The increased costs of imported goods have been passed on to consumers, leading to higher prices for everyday items. Small businesses, in particular, have struggled to absorb these costs, resulting in closures and job losses. China responded with tariffs of its own, targeting key American exports like soybeans and automobiles. These retaliatory measures have hit American farmers and manufacturers hard, leading to significant financial losses and increased uncertainty. The agricultural sector, which relies heavily on exports to China, has been particularly affected, with many farmers struggling to stay afloat. This tit-for-tat exchange of tariffs has only served to deepen the divide between the two countries. The breakdown in trade negotiations and the resulting economic disruptions have created a climate of uncertainty and mistrust. As both nations dig in their heels, the prospects for a resolution seem increasingly remote, leaving the global economy in a precarious position. The materials targeted by China's export restrictions are not just any commodities. They are the lifeblood of the global technology industry. These materials are integral to the production of a wide array of high-tech products that we rely on every day. From the smartphones in our pockets to the advanced medical equipment in hospitals, the reach of these materials is vast and critical. Gallium, for example, is used in semiconductors, LEDs, and solar cells. This versatile metal is a key component in the production of high-speed computer chips and efficient lighting solutions. Without a steady supply of gallium, the development and manufacturing of these essential technologies would face significant hurdles. Germanium is essential for fiber optic cables, infrared optics, and solar cells. This element plays a crucial role in the transmission of data over long distances, the creation of night vision equipment, and the generation of renewable energy. The absence of germanium would disrupt these industries, leading to potential slowdowns in technological advancements and energy solutions. These materials are critical for a wide range of industries, including telecommunications, aerospace, and defense. The telecommunications industry relies on these materials for the production of high-speed internet infrastructure, while the aerospace and defense sectors depend on them for the development of advanced aircraft and defense systems. The restriction of these materials could hinder progress and innovation in these vital fields. By restricting exports of these materials, China is effectively holding the global technology industry hostage. Factories may face shutdowns, production lines could come to a halt, and workers might find themselves out of jobs. The ripple effects of these restrictions could be felt across the globe, affecting economies and livelihoods. The impact of these export restrictions is already being felt around the world. Supply chains are experiencing disruptions, and companies are scrambling to find alternative sources. The uncertainty surrounding the availability of these materials is causing concern among industry leaders and policymakers alike. Semiconductor manufacturers are scrambling to secure alternative sources of supply, while prices for electronic devices are expected to rise. Consumers may soon feel the pinch as the cost of everyday electronics, from smartphones to laptops, increases. The search for new suppliers is a race against time, as companies strive to maintain production and meet demand. The long-term consequences of this disruption to the global supply chain are difficult to predict, but are likely to be significant. Economists are debating the potential impacts. with some predicting a slowdown in technological innovation and others warning of broader economic repercussions. The uncertainty is palpable, and the stakes are high. This move by China is a clear sign that it is willing to use its dominance in rare earth elements and other critical materials as leverage in its economic rivalry with the United States. The geopolitical implications of this strategy are profound, as it highlights the interconnectedness of global economies and the potential for resource-based power plays. It also highlights the vulnerability of the global economy to disruptions in the supply of these essential materials. The reliance on a few key suppliers for critical resources exposes the fragility of global supply chains. As the world grapples with these challenges, the need for diversification and resilience in sourcing becomes ever more apparent. The butterfly effect. The interconnectedness of the global economy means that even seemingly isolated trade disputes can have far-reaching consequences. The trade war between the United States and China, for example, has already had a ripple effect on economies around the world. Farmers in the American Midwest have seen their soybean exports to China plummet, while manufacturers in Germany are feeling the pinch of reduced demand for their products from both the United States and China. In developing countries, the trade war is exacerbating existing economic problems, leading to higher prices, job losses, and social unrest. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, has warned that the trade war is a threat to the global economy and has urged both sides to de-escalate the conflict. However, with neither the United States nor China showing any signs of backing down, the economic fallout from this trade war is likely to continue for the foreseeable future. The price of protectionism. The trade war between the United States and China is a stark reminder of the costs of protectionism. Tariffs, import quotas, and other protectionist measures may seem like an easy way to protect domestic industries and jobs, but they often end up hurting the very people they are intended to help. When the United States imposes tariffs on Chinese goods, for example, it is American consumers who end up paying the price in the form of higher prices for everything, from clothing to electronics. These tariffs also hurt American businesses that rely on imported components or that export their products to China. The trade war has also led to uncertainty and volatility in the global economy, making it more difficult for businesses to plan for the future. This uncertainty has dampened investment and economic growth, both in the United States and around the world. A world divided. The trade war between the United States and China is more than just an economic dispute. It is a reflection of a growing geopolitical rivalry between the two superpowers. This rivalry is playing out on multiple fronts, from trade and technology to military and diplomatic competition. The United States is increasingly concerned about China's growing economic and military might, as well as its assertive foreign policy in the South China Sea and elsewhere. China, for its part, resents what it sees as American attempts to contain its rise and maintain its global hegemony. This rivalry is leading to a more fragmented and uncertain world, one in which countries are increasingly being forced to choose sides between the United States and China. This fragmentation is evident in the emergence of competing technological standards, trade blocs, and security alliances. The rise of the rest. As the United States and China engage in a protracted trade war, other countries are seizing the opportunity to advance their own economic interests. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are a case in point. These emerging economies are working to reduce their reliance on the United States dollar and create alternative financial systems. They are also forging closer economic ties with each other and with other developing countries. The rise of the BRICS and other emerging economies is a sign that the global economic order is shifting. The United States can no longer take its economic dominance for granted. It needs to adapt to a more multipolar world in which other countries are playing an increasingly important role. Navigating the unknown. The trade war between the United States and China is a defining moment for the global economy. The outcome of this conflict will have profound implications for the future of globalization, the balance of power in the world, and the lives of billions of people around the globe. The path ahead is uncertain. There is a real risk that the trade war could escalate into a broader conflict, with devastating consequences for all involved. However, there is also hope that the two sides will find a way to de-escalate the situation and reach a mutually beneficial agreement. The world is watching and waiting to see what the future holds.